Well, it's a bit overcast here in beautiful Tobago in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Let me take the opportunity to welcome you once again to the program Transforming Lives One at a Time. The program is aired every Saturday at 5:30 p.m. You can also check out our social media platforms. We are on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and of course, Facebook. I am your host, Dianne, and today we will be talking about love and the dynamics of relationships. Yes, I know it's a vast topic, and I know one program is not enough, and we will be just touching the tip of the iceberg. Well, on set with me today is my guest, psychologist Rhonda Thompson Benjamin. Mrs. Benjamin is currently the lead psychologist at Equilibrium Counseling Services. She holds a bachelor's degree in social work and a master's degree in counseling psychology from the University of the Southern Caribbean. She has worked in the Ministry of Education in both the social work and guidance counseling departments and at the Children's Authority. She believes in giving back to society and has worked with several NGOs to provide psychological support for families. Mrs. Benjamin strongly believes that healthy people create healthy families, and healthy families build a strong society. Well, good afternoon, Mrs. Benjamin, and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yes, my dear. Well, I just love that healthy people create healthy families, and healthy families build a strong society. Could you just expand on that just before we get into it?
Yeah. You see, we as human beings, if we are healthy, we interact in a healthy way. So if an individual seeks that all dimensions of their lives are fulfilled, meaning they have purpose, they are taking care of their mental health, their physical health, and all areas of their lives, they can contribute to their family. Their family will in turn be happy. They will utilize the skills that they would have seen in their parents, and then we'll have a healthier society.
Wow.
So at the foundation, each individual have a responsibility in terms of caring for themselves in a holistic way.
Wow, well put. I also know a little birdie told me that you are originally from Trinidad, a deep south.
Deep south.
Tell us, what has the transition been like for you?
It's been wonderful. I am from Rio Claro, a beautiful place.
Yes.
It's far. Many persons dread treading to that territory, but it's wonderful. Coming to Tobago, it has been a smooth transition because I am a country girl. So I haven't adjusted to the people and the environment. Of course, I have gained a lot of friends, a lot of companions. So it has been a wonderful transition for me.
Well, wonderful to hear, and welcome to Tobago.
Thank you.
Well, Mrs. Benjamin, first of all, we know that the word love has been bandied about in various sectors, in all walks of life. We want to lay a proper foundation as we peruse this topic, seeking out what I call the intricacies and minuticals of love and relationships. So when we talk about love between two persons and connection, what exactly are we referring to?
I liked where you started. Many persons have various definitions and versions of love. And of course, in our families of origin, whatever is modeled there, we use that as our template for understanding love, whether it's healthy or unhealthy. But for us to have a definition moving forward in our interaction, I think it's important to note that love is not just an attraction or mere affection. In this context, it really refers to that emotional bond between two persons that are marked by mutual care, vulnerability. It is also marked by understanding and being able to feel seen and heard. So again, love is not just about that emotional feeling, you know, but it's a commitment. Yeah.
Commitment, I like that word. Well, let's get very early in the conversation, the difference between love and infatuation. Let's get that out of the way.
Yes. So this is a big issue because many persons, as I said before, they view love differently. But infatuation is really intense. It is short-lived, and it's basically a deep admiration for a person. So I love his charisma. I love how he looks, or I love how she looks.
Right.
So infatuation is very surface level.
Okay.
However, love is very deep. It is enduring. It's understanding the person, their values, respecting that person. So it goes beyond the mere surface level things of you are very handsome or you are very beautiful.
Right.
But it goes deeper into understanding that individual and committing to that person.
That I am thinking as we talk about love, because we know there are many kinds of love. I'm even thinking about the agape love,
Yes.
which is that love that loves in spite of.
Yes.
So in spite of you hurting my feelings today, I will still love you because I choose to still love you. Let's talk a little bit about that agape love.
Well, we know agape love is unconditional love. So as you rightfully said, in spite of you're getting me vexed today,
Yes.
I pissed off.
Yes.
But you are the person that I chose, I committed to, and I would love you in spite of these. You know, many persons have a challenge with this, and that's why we have to take our time as we go into relationships, because the foundation in terms of our values, they must be similar.
Yes.
Because it's difficult to show that unconditional love to somebody who you don't even like,
Right.
or somebody who you don't know, right? But unconditional love goes beyond the challenges of relationships. Yes, we might have gone through something traumatic together, but we could work past that because I am fully committed to you.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm hearing that word commitment as in playing an integral part in this love connection, as we would say. Well, I would like us to cover some of the fundamental pillars that a strong and healthy relationship is built on, which I know, of course, will include open and honest communication, respect, and the likes. So just weigh in on
So
that.
you mentioned some pillars already that I just want to explore a little bit,
Yes.
right? So open and honest communication. In relationships, we need to understand that we are not mind readers. We have to share our thoughts, our needs, our desires. So assertiveness is important. And when I refer to assertiveness, I'm not talking about being aggressive.
Right.
I am talking about being able to understand your needs and being able to express it to the other person in a respectful way.
Yes.
Another part of communication is active listening. So when that person shares, the other person should zone in or zoom into that person. So you get rid of distractions, listen not only to the words but the feelings that the person is expressing.
Right.
And you know, when this happens, it truly creates a beautiful atmosphere because everybody is feeling heard and valued, right? The trouble comes when we are unable to express our needs and desires. Of course, that will bring conflict into the relationship because their expectations, they are not communicated and then they are not met.
Right.
So open and honest communication is extremely valuable. So I mentioned before respect. Even though two persons are coming together in a relationship, we have our individual needs, our individual goals, our desires. So there must be that mutual respect for individuality while understanding that we are in a relationship together. So I have to know what's happening with you, and you know what is happening with me. So there must be that respect of property. Right? Respect of time. So I know sometimes, for example, ladies, you know, we are custom running late and, you know, your partner is waiting on you. And sometimes we don't see that as a big thing. But those little things could affect the relationship in a very, very negative way. So open communication, respect is important. And another pillar that I would highlight is that of trust. It's unable to enjoy something, anything, if you don't trust it. Right? Why? Because you will always be on edge.
Okay.
In order for our relationship to work, each partner needs to trust each other. And many times when we talk about trust, we think about, being committed in terms of infidelity and so on. But trust goes even deeper than that. Trusting that you will meet my needs. Okay. Or if you promise me that you will do something, you will get it done. Yes. So trust is another pillar that we should consider. And the last one, because there are many, right?
Yes, of
there
course.
Are many. But you see, conflict resolution.
Yes, and of course we will talk about that later. But you could touch on
later.
That now.
Yes.
We'll continue that a little later as well.
Will. Being able to manage and navigate conflict is important, because conflict will come from time to time. Of course. But it must be managed in an effective way.
Well, I want to talk about the communication aspect of what you said, because I remember I was having a conversation with a gentleman, and he was saying to me, he said, you ladies, you all can be so difficult to deal with at times. Because he was drawing the reference that he came home, the wife is at home, but something is wrong. You'll give your normal greetings and stuff, but he recognizes that something is wrong. So it's like, baby, what's the matter? What is wrong? Nothing. And he's like, okay. But in his mind, he knows that something is wrong. But as a man, he would ask a question. If you say nothing, the man will go about his duties. And then she would come back and say, but you don't show care and consideration.
Right. So there are those issues in relationships.
Yes.
And we have to really consider whether our behaviors are helpful or harmful.
Right.
And we have to say what we mean and mean what we say, and that comes back to assertiveness. So the other party is not left confused.
Of course, because many men would complain that they are not mind readers, and their significant others would always want them to figure out what is the problem, when you could just say, why do we do that as women? Because I'm asking you.
Many times there are unresolved issues, right? Women tend to be a little more emotional in their approach, while men are mostly logical.
Correct.
Right? So sometimes we are not through in terms of managing our emotions enough to be able to communicate. But we could also communicate that.
Right.
Listen, I have something to share, but I'm not ready yet.
Okay.
Give me an hour.
Right.
Yes? So those are things that we could practice to really relieve some of the tension that we have in our intimate relationship.
Right. So it's not any one quick fix.
You
have to try to get to know that partner and be able to know how you can communicate best.
Correct.
That's what I'm hearing.
Correct.
Yes. Well, there is a song, Mrs. Benjamin, that was written by Steve Davis and performed by the legendary Percy Sledge, which hit the pop charts in 1968. That song, Take Time to Know Her.
Oh, yeah.
And it went on by saying, this is not an overnight fling. Take time to know her. Please don't rush into anything. I share that as an introduction to my next question, which is, how crucial is taking that much needed time in getting to know your partner before rushing in and making lifelong decisions?
Yes, it is absolutely crucial. We have to be able to assess whether or not we are compatible.
Right.
Again, we are different. we come from various backgrounds, but when we meet, everybody would put their best foot forward.
All the time.
You know, it happens.
Yes.
But naturally, over time, in various circumstances, you get to see the true character of persons.
Right.
So rushing into relationships and making commitments. So my name is on your car loan and we just met a week before.
Right.
Those situations we should stay away from.
Yes.
So you would want to take this person to a restaurant, see how they operate. Take them to your family, take them to the beach.
Yes.
Take them among your friends. Take time to know that person, because we can make decisions that could impact us for the rest of our lives, emotionally, physically, financially. You know, because many persons, they come to me because they are now going through the grieving process after divorce, because they would not have taken that time to get to know this person and their value system. So in order to have a healthy, happy relationship, take your time. Get to know this person. Don't rush. Yeah.
Don't rush. I found it so fitting when I always knew of this song, Take Time to Know Her. But as I delved into, as I was preparing for this program, I said, but this song is the perfect one. The perfect one to just remind us that it's not just an overnight.
Correct.
No, you need to take time. And it means that you need to spend time with each other in terms of getting to really know the persons. But sometimes, is it because we are in a rush for things to happen so quickly?
Sometimes. And sometimes, as you know, you asked a question before in terms of infatuation. Sometimes we are really blinded by how we feel. So the logical part is in the shadow. And when we already make that commitment to go forward, let's say in a long-term relationship or marriage or so, then all of a sudden our eyes are opened. So we have to be able to understand that making a commitment without counting the cost. It could result in a lot of challenges.
Well, I want to touch on a topic, but I know we're gonna be heading to the break shortly. You know what? Let me not even put that in as yet. We're gonna take that break.
Sure.
So we're gonna take a break and we'll be right back. You're viewing Transforming Lives One at a Time. Stay with us.
If you're wondering where to find top-tier quality tiles and products to refurbish or renovate your wall, floor, or pool, well, your worry is over. Come to D-Cell's Tile and Ceiling Center, Tobago Local Road, opposite the Bonnecourt Primary School, Tobago, where you will find porcelain, mosaic, and ceramic tiles of the highest quality guaranteed. D-Cell's Tile and Ceiling Center also stocks thinset, grout, tile cutters, and yes, windows. Plus, a friendly smile and service that's second to none awaits you. So forget the hassle and get all the quality tiles you need right here in Tobago at D-Cell's Tile and Ceiling Center. Call us today at 460-8802, 639-8281. Opens Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m.
Hi, I am Dianne, host of Transforming Lives One at a Time. And I would like to introduce you to our brand new segment, Good Vibes, Good News. And this is where you have the opportunity to highlight your good vibes, good news with us. You could send your 90-second video to our WhatsApp number, 1-868-701-2099. That's 1-868-701-2099. Let's hear some of the good news that we never hear about. Good vibes, good news, inspiring hope, celebrating wins, truly grateful.
NSL School and Office Supplies for all your school uniforms, textbooks, stationery, and craft supplies. Located obliquely opposite Stumpy's Bypass, Canaan. Also offering printing, photocopying, and much more. Give them a call today, 615-6595, 477-5905, or email them at nslbookstore@gmail.com.
Welcome back to the program. Today we are speaking about love and the dynamics of relationships. Mrs. Benjamin, just before the break, I know we were talking about persons rushing into relationships. What are some reasons people continuously rush into relationships time after time? Is it the pressures of society to start a family? All my friends are in a relationship syndrome, loneliness? What is it?
Yeah, so it can be multiple factors. Society, as soon as you reach a particular age,
Yes,
they expect certain things. And of course, they do not evaluate your individual situation. They don't ask questions, but there are certain expectations. And whether you go to church or anywhere you go, a family function, persons would say, so when you getting married?
yes,
And they may not have bad intentions, but an individual could feel pressured, and many times just to appease persons,
Yes.
they enter into relationships. You mentioned loneliness. Of course, we are human beings and we long for connection and care.
right, yes.
So many persons think, okay, if I'm not married, how would I adjust? How would I live? I don't have a companion.
Yes.
Would I be able to navigate this situation alone? So loneliness is also a big factor. And of course, there's the biological aspect. Persons may want to have kids,
Yes,
and they
yes.
say, you know what? I'm close to this age or this particular age. Let me just get somebody so that I
Yes.
could have children.
Wow.
And there are multiple reasons why persons rush into relationships. But one that I really want to touch on is this idealized issue that we are having. So persons are watching social media.
Yes.
And they have the best couple there, and they keep watching, they scrolling through TikTok and Facebook, and they think that relationships are perfect. And because of this, they really want to get into relationships, and as soon as they meet someone, they think this is it. So again, it's like there are multiple blind spots,
Right.
because you think relationships are perfect because of what you see on social media, or even read. There are many books long ago that persons would read about this happily ever after.
Yes. Yes.
So persons long and crave for relationships. So there are multiple factors why persons may rush into relationships
Right.
prematurely.
Well, as you spoke about social media, and you see in these quote unquote happy families, and it's like, oh my gosh, the bride and the day. I was speaking to a gentleman, and he was saying to me, he said, unfortunately, many couples prepare for a wedding, but they don't prepare for a marriage. So it's like they just see the glitz and the glamour of, oh my gosh, yes, the bridesmaid, and we're gonna rent the limousine, and where we're gonna go for our honeymoon, and we're gonna live in this beautiful apartment, but they are not ready in terms of mentally, some psychologically, some physically for a marriage.
Yeah, and marriage takes a lot of preparation.
Yes.
It's like you go into a job interview. You want to ensure that you have your CV printed. You want to ensure that you look good, that you have some idea of the questions that they would tell you.
Of course.
So if we prepare so much for an interview, which is a few minutes,
Yes.
we have to prepare, because that is a lifelong commitment.
That's right.
So it takes a lot of work. Persons know, a lot of persons are married and they would have never gone to premarital conflict, counseling.
Yes.
So they are unable to see issues that may pop up in the relationship. And of course, if they didn't have that guidance from, let's say, older couples or so, who would have had a wealth of experience, by the first issue in marriage, they think, okay, this isn't working.
That's it.
All right.
That's
yes, I'm a head out now,
That's it.
But marriage takes a lot of individual preparation as well.
Yes, definitely. And even as we are talking about the level of commitment, because many times we just think this hairy-fairy kind of thing, and we don't look in depth, because as you spoke about the premarital counseling, I mean, my thing is some of us are being counseled for 6 1-hour sessions for a lifelong journey. And the next thing about it is that during the time that you're married, you know, sometimes I wonder, where is the post counseling? Because remember, you have 2 separate individuals coming from 2 separate backgrounds. This person might be 25, this person might be 30, and it's 25 years of coming from a particular background. 30 years of coming from another background, and you are now coming and saying, okay, we want to live together. So even during the marriage, especially in the early years, I think that follow-up counseling is critical, because that is the time that is like, you know, you're wondering, wow, what did I get myself into?
And those are just the transitional pains.
Yes.
And if you are unaware that these things happen, you know, I usually tell couples the story of my husband and I, because I am cooking a particular way, and then you are cooking a particular way, and that was the first conflict in our marriage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it took some time to adjust to that, knowing that you have a different style,
Of
but your
course.
meals taste good, you know.
We can still eat.
Yes. So being able to work through and expect that those challenges will come, as you said, you know, maybe even living by yourself for some time, and now you have to clear down the sink because your wife has makeup on it. There are a lot of issues that may arise, but it doesn't mean that the relationship is bad. You just have to work through those things, and guidance with counseling will help you in some of those issues.
Yes, because it's like a whole new ball game.
Yes.
All the time I'm living by myself, I know exactly where to find everything. Now this other individual is coming into my space.
Correct.
And I'm like, okay, how do we really deal with this? What about the toothpaste? And this we always hear about. Should we squeeze the toothpaste from the top or from the bottom? My thing personally, once I get the toothpaste on my toothbrush.
Yes, but these, although, you know, it might be humorous, many persons have significant challenges navigating these things. And in terms of managing conflict and so, we have to understand that in certain situations, there is no wrong or right. And not everything is worth an argument. Not everything is worth having a conflict or an argument over.
Of course, because there's this beautiful word called compromise. Come to some form of agreement. Okay, this is it. We are married. We are living together. We have to find a way.
Yes, definitely.
For peace to reign.
Correct.
It's just amazing to me, the kind of transition and the kind of adjustments you have to make when someone else is now coming into the space. And hence the reason I believe pre-counseling is so very vital. Another area in that is like, okay, we may say, okay, marry for better or for worse, but we only look at the better. That he's gonna get a job promotion, or that she's gonna start having children 3 years after, when she gets pregnant 2 months after. You know, so you now have to look and adjust, because on this program, we are about being real. The real issues. The issues that people don't want to talk about and what they want to sweep under the carpet, that is what this program is about. So we can bring it out, because it's only when we bring it out into the open, when we address it, then persons can be able to find help and get solutions to the issues that they face on a daily basis.
True.
So that is very critical. Well, Mrs. Benjamin, a major issue, and you touched on it a little earlier, but a major issue that has become somewhat a recurring decimal in relationships is that of trust. As partners continuously seek to build that secure alliance. Let's talk about how critical that 5-letter word trust is And what happens when that trust is broken?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important question for us to address, because trust is truly the lifeblood of a relationship. If there is no trust, there is no relationship.
Okay.
In order for persons to be vulnerable in a relationship, which is essential, one party has to know that the other person has his or her back.
Right.
Yeah. And when trust is broken, there is breakdown in communication, in intimacy, and even other areas. So for example, if that couple has children, because one person is experiencing brokenness because of that broken trust, it could affect the children in that relationship.
Yes.
So maintaining trust and being able to walk through that, being able to identify the area or the issue as to why the trust was broken is essential. Right. So you have to be able to be honest.
Yes.
This is what has happened. Lay all your cards on the table, and if you need somebody to help you through that process, it's important. But we have to be honest in order to work forward. So being honest is important, and both parties will have to actively work to mend the relationship. Right. Both. So the person who would have done wrong and the person who would have experienced wrong. Yes. Because when we feel betrayed, there is a physiological response. Our bodies are engaged in that experience. So the same fight or flight response is activated.
Right.
So, of course, if anything reminds us of that betrayal, we could go back to that place. So it may not have to be anything as it relates to that first initial situation.
Right.
But trust is broken. So that person, if they decide to move on in the relationship and to forgive, that person will have to remind themselves that I have already forgiven.
Right.
And we are working past this.
Yes.
The person who would have betrayed the other party, they would now have to be transparent.
Yes.
So you would have to over communicate.
Yes, of course, of course.
To ensure that that person feels safe and secure. And when trust is reestablished, then maybe you don't have to be as well, you have to be transparent always, but maybe that person may relax and they may say, you know what, you don't have to call me every hour or so, but that takes time, because it deeply affects the way people operate, because it's like the rug is pulled from underneath your feet.
Of course.
How could I view you the same? How could I view the relationship the same? So it will take time and intentional effort to mend, those situations.
So what I'm hearing is that there is a ripple effect when trust is broken. And many times you're in a relationship and something happens and this trust is broken, but you are sometimes afraid to ask someone else for help. Sometimes you may be feeling, I don't want persons into my business. I feel a bit ashamed because things didn't work as we planned. How important is it to seek that help in order to restore that relationship?
It is extremely important, because in order for the relationship to thrive or to get back to that baseline of normalcy, you have to get help if you're unable to navigate it on your own. Of course, when you feel betrayed, various emotions come to the surface. So you mentioned shame, sometimes it's really fear, anxiety, and so. And if you're unable to work through that, getting help is essential, because if you don't, things would just continue to get worse. So it's difficult to seek support, but it's also difficult to live in that constant state of stress and anxiety. So you really have to choose your heart. Which one are you willing to do? Get past the fear and get help, or to live in this constant state of stress?
And of course, at that point, the situation is escalating. And it will go from bad to worse, and then you have... So at that stage, it is very traumatic. So what I'm hearing from you, each individual or each couple now have to ask themselves, okay, what are we gonna do?
Yes.
Is it that we're gonna throw in the proverbial towel and decide, well, okay, that's a wrap, or is it that we are going to fight for this relationship?
Yeah, but you have to decide.
Yes.
You have to decide, because
Both parties,
you have to decide, because whether it's the elephant in the room.
yes, you
As
have
much
to
as
address
you
it.
try, as much as you try to dance around it and hide in a corner, it's there.
Yes,
And it impacts the space in the relationship. Just like if our elephant is in this room,
yes,
we have limited space to walk around.
Of
It would be the
course.
same
Yes.
in your relationship. You need to have that emotional bond, and if these issues are not addressed,
Yes.
you will have a lot of issues.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, we cannot talk relationships without addressing the anxieties of conflict. I want us to dive into navigating conflicts and how we can maintain long-term relationships.
So conflict is inevitable.
Yes.
Right? You have male, female coming together. You have persons from different environments coming together.
Yes.
And because of that difference, we would have different thoughts, ideas, issues. And it's important to kind of understand that conflict is okay. The management is where it becomes a little tricky, right? So persons would have different conflict styles. So for somebody might be a shark, they might be very competitive. So it's either my way or the highway.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Some persons might be a turtle, so they might come back into the shell until it's safe to come out again.
Wow.
Right? There are others who might be a teddy bear. So they put their issues aside and it's all about you. This is what you want? Okay, no problem.
Wow.
But there are there are advantages and disadvantages of every conflict style. So you have to be aware of how you manage conflict and how your partner manages conflict.
Okay.
And you have to be able to come to that place where we can compromise. That's the word that you mentioned earlier. As you navigate conflict. So one of the things that persons need to be reminded of is that when we go through conflict, we have to identify the issue.
Okay.
Many times we are fighting and we don't know what we're fighting about.
Gotcha.
I just know that I have an uncomfortable feeling,
Yes.
and then there's a ripple effect.
Right.
So if you leave the cup on the table, you're always doing that. But because there's something that is unresolved,
Yes.
this cup, I fling it outside.
Right.
You know? So you have to know what exactly is the problem. Also remember that you are on the same team,
Yes.
right? The problem is the issue, not your partner,
Okay.
right? So when you look at it from that perspective, you are more likely to navigate it in a healthy way. So this is the problem. Both of us are against the problem. Let's come up with solutions.
Right.
My solutions may not be yours, but let's try one.
Yes.
That doesn't work. Let's try solution number
Okay.
2, and let's see how best we could navigate together. Another thing that we have to pay particular attention to in conflict management is to take responsibility for your part in the conflict.
Okay.
Many times we look at conflict as you are right or I am wrong, but many times there are attitudes.
Yes.
There are other reasons why conflict may have occurred.
Right.
So it's important for us to understand, to accept, okay, that I may have played a part and I am sorry.
All right.
For many persons, that's difficult to navigate.
Those 3 words. You see those 3 words? I am sorry.
I am sorry.
Valuable.
Yes, I am sorry for my part in this.
Right.
So that is one of the key things that we need to remember in terms of conflict management. And just understand that, again, we have to listen to understand and not reply.
Right.
we have to take a pause. We have to listen to understand.
Yes.
Because you could be speaking, I am not hearing you, I'm just thinking about what I'm going to say next.
Yes, to respond.
Yes. Respond.
Yes.
Right? So we have to try to give our partner that listening ear as we navigate conflict.
All right, well said. Well, at this time, we're going to take another short break and we'll be back. Stay with us.
If you're wondering where to find top-tier quality tiles and products to refurbish or renovate your wall, floor, or pool, well, your worry is over. Come to D-Cells Tile and Ceiling Center, Tobago Local Road, opposite the Bonnecourt Primary School, Tobago, where you will find porcelain, mosaic, and ceramic tiles of the highest quality guaranteed. D-Cells Tile and Ceiling Center also stocks thinset, grout, tile cutters, and yes, windows. Plus, a friendly smile and service that's second to none awaits you. So forget the hassle and get all the quality tiles you need right here in Tobago at D-Cells Tile and Ceiling Center. Call us today at 460-8802, 639-8281. Opens Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m.
Hi, I am Dianne, host of Transforming Lives One at a Time, and I would like to introduce you to our brand new segment, Good Vibes, Good News. And this is where you have the opportunity to highlight your good vibes, good news with us. You could send your 90-second video to our WhatsApp number 1-868-701-2099. That's 1-868-701-2099. Let's hear some of the good news that we never hear about. Good vibes, good news, inspiring hope, celebrating wins, truly grateful.
NSL School and Office Supplies for all your school uniforms, textbooks, stationery, and craft supplies. Located obliquely opposite Stumpy's Bypass, Canaan. Also offering printing, photocopying, and much more. Give them a call today, 615-6595-477-5905, or email them at nslbookstore@gmail.com.
Welcome back to Transforming Lives One at a Time. You guessed it. We are talking about love and the dynamics of relationships, and as I was telling my cameraman, we just don't have enough time. So Mrs. Benjamin, I want us to touch quickly on expectations and boundaries as it relates to having that healthy relationship.
Yes, setting clear boundaries prevent misunderstandings in relationships. I always say, think about boundaries and yourself as a home. Many persons might knock on your door, but you don't open the door for everybody to come in. Right?
Gotcha.
So your partner should be aware of your boundaries. So there are physical boundaries in terms of your personal space. And many persons kind of have a challenge with that. How could I be in a relationship and you telling me about boundaries?
Yes.
But in order for your partner to feel secure and safe in their own selves, they have to be able to share their boundaries with you, and you respect those boundaries.
Okay.
Now, this should be shared very early on in the relationship or the friendship, even before you get into relationships.
Right.
So that you know if this is a boundary that I am willing to respect.
Yeah.
Right? Or if this is too much for me. So we have to talk about those things very early on in the relationship. So there are various types of boundaries. So physical boundaries, time boundaries. How am I willing to spend my time? If I am doing, let's say, some type of educational program and you want to talk on the phone every 4 hours, what is my boundaries?
Right.
In terms of time?
Okay.
Sex and sexual intimacy. What am I willing? How often? The duration. These are things that we fail to talk about.
Yeah. Conversations that are critical.
Yes, yes. And even in a marriage, there could be sexual boundaries as well. Of course, you need to talk about it.
Of course.
Yes. But there are various boundaries that would prevent misunderstanding and conflict in relationships.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Well, I want to talk about some of the factors involved that causes relationships to fail, or as we term it now, go south.
Yeah.
What are some of the things?
Now there are many things. I think there are patterns. So one of them could be stonewalling, meaning that you shut down in conflict.
Okay.
Right? So many times a conflict is happening and one partner retreats for a long period of time.
Right.
The other partner is waiting for you to return. You either avoid the conversation, so that person feels as though you are not their partner. Right?
Yes.
And vice versa. We learn these ways, to protect ourselves. But when we get into relationships, it's about vulnerability. So stonewalling, not being able to be present to address issues,
Right.
it leads to the breakdown in relationships. Right? Blaming. Now, an important part of navigating relationships is being able to communicate well. So your partner may not intend to hurt you, but they did.
Right.
So without saying you did this and you so and so, you could start by saying, I felt hurt.
Yes.
When you shared this thing that I asked you to keep private with your family members.
Right.
That is different to saying, yes, a mama's boy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
So there are ways that we can treat with sensitive issues. Keeping the score, bringing up the past repeatedly. You navigated through something and bringing this up over and over, the other person could feel defeated. So I am trying, I'm moving past the situation, but it seems as though even if I'm successful in sharing or navigating this situation, it doesn't matter. So what's the sense a fighter?
Right.
Right? Another big one is finances.
Yes.
Right?
I think we could touch on it, but I'm going to call you back for part 2, okay? But touch on finances quickly as well.
Finances is a big one.
Yes.
How we spend money, who is managing money.
Right.
There are many persons who have poor money management skills, and you're expecting the savings to be this amount, but they saw a sale somewhere and they spent out the savings.
Ladies, I'm just saying, ladies, I'm just saying.
Right, these things could cause major issues because there's a breakdown in trust now.
Right.
Yeah, so
right.
finances is another big issue, and of course there's infidelity and so on that we could probably navigate in part 2
yes,
as
in
well.
part 2, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. Well, staying with the trend of thought in terms of what causes some relationships to fail, what are some mistakes most people make that actually make matters worse? So you're trying to fix this, but what you are doing is actually making it worse.
One of the things would be avoiding the hard conversations.
Okay.
So you feel as though because we avoid the hard conversations, everything is perfect. Because many times persons would come to me for counseling, and one party would be like, yes, we have no issues, and then the other would be like, are you serious? So many times when we avoid difficult conversation, one partner feels as though things are okay, while the other is building resentment because of many ways they would have felt wronged in the relationship. Another one I mentioned earlier is assuming that your partner should know.
Yes.
You should know what to do. You should know that for the anniversary, I am expecting a birthday party thrown. I am expecting flowers. I am expecting all these things. But we understand that those needs are to be communicated.
Of course.
Because what I may like, my partner may not like.
Right.
To share an example, my husband, he may like acts of service, right? So he likes when I do things for him. So you're busy, let me iron the shirt. He would love that. But for me, I need quality time. I will iron my clothes.
Of course.
And sometimes we need to understand what our partners really desire. So if we do not be assertive in terms of sharing our needs, this could lead to the breakdown in our relationships.
So we have to learn our partner's love languages.
Yes.
Because what may work for one couple or one person is totally opposite.
Correct.
You may like your husband to, once he takes care of the yard and he does that and brush cut this and trim up the flowers, and so you are like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna prepare the best meal tonight.
Correct. Yeah.
When for someone else it'll be, you could leave the yard, just come and let's just sit and just watch a movie and have some popcorn and just have a laugh and that kind of thing. So it's important to learn each other, and that is why the song that Percy Sledge sang, you see why we come back to that song?
Yes.
Take time to know her.
Correct.
I'm not trying to take over her, Percy.
Yes.
So that time is very, very, very critical.
Indeed.
Very critical. Well, Mrs. Benjamin, it will be remiss of me if we don't address, I just want to touch on it just a bit. The revolving door relationship, where persons go in and out of relationships with any kind of commitment or long-term stability. Let's just hear your thoughts on this.
All right. So this is a bit complex, but I think we have a few moments where we can talk about it. Now, what we have discovered that many times when persons are in and out of relationships, it's because there is some level of insecurity. There is some need that needs to be met. So for example, you may see a young man or young lady, they may be in a relationship for 1 month, something happens, they are out there into another relationship. When you enter into a relationship, there is that great new feeling.
Yes.
And sometimes when that fades naturally.
The honeymoon period, you call it.
The honeymoon period, it fades. And many persons, they only want to exist in that honeymoon period.
Yes.
Yeah? So if that means I have to leave this one and get into another relationship just to feel fulfilled, sometimes that is what people do. Many times persons fear intimacy. So I don't want to open up too much. I just want to stay on the surface. Right? How much could really be revealed in a month or 3? So many times persons say, oh, I'm feeling a little too vulnerable. Time for me to head out.
Okay.
Yes. So there are various factors that might contribute to that revolving door in terms of relationships. But what is important for that person to be, they must identify, why am I repeating this pattern?
Okay.
They have to identify the why and seek support as is necessary.
Right. Well, our time is fast approaching, but as we get ready to wrap up, Mrs. Benjamin, I would like to give you the opportunity to share one key point that you would like to resonate with our viewers, and maybe we didn't touch an area that you would like to highlight until we bring part 2.
Yes. So I want to end where we started. Healthy relationships start with you. In order for you to have meaningful relationships, you have to have a solid foundation. You have to be aware of your own values. You have to be aware of your boundaries. You have to know what you desire in a relationship in order to have that loving relationship that you desire. So once you know yourself, you have to be able to find someone who matches what you need. Relationships are difficult, but we can manage them by learning, gaining new skills, and coming to that level of understanding. So again, relationships are hard, but they are also valuable.
Yes.
They bring joy.
Yes.
They bring excitement to your life. So it's important that we are able to navigate relationships well.
Right. One other thing I wanted to touch on that we did not, the importance of forgiveness in relationships. So I think we're gonna end on that. Forgiveness.
So forgiveness, many times it would take some time, right? Again, we have to go back to what caused the pain, being able to address that, and to be able to understand that relationships are they are about forgiveness on repeat.
Right.
I tell my clients that all the time. Of course, there are issues such as abuse and so. Of course, in those situations, safety takes priority.
Of course,
and we will have to navigate those. But the issues that may not be as intense or severe, understand that because your partner is different, you're going to have to let go of things, because if you have that way of unforgiveness, it could breed a lot of wounds into your relationships. So we have to learn how to forgive and forget sometimes.
Yeah, well, as a lady told me, she said, well, I can forgive you, but you see, I forget. And even as we talk about forgiveness, sometimes, yes, you have situations that would occur that you would forgive a person, but does that mean you have to maintain that close relationship with that individual?
Well, you see, forgiveness is not always reconciliation.
Okay.
Right? You can forgive somebody, meaning that you release all the intense emotions. You let that part go, right? But oftentimes we can't forget because we are human beings. We talk about forgiveness, it's forgiving and forgetting. But it remains there. In severe cases of abuse, continual abuse, sometimes it may mean not continuing that level of closeness with that person to protect yourself emotionally and physically.
Yes, because at this point self-preservation comes into play.
Correct.
Because if it is that your life is being threatened or your livelihood is being threatened, then you have to make an intelligent decision. Okay, do I want to be one of the people that they're going to be saying goodbye to, or so I think that level of wisdom is also needed, even as we deal with relationships on a day-to-day basis. That I tell you, this topic of love and relationships and the dynamics of relationship, it is definitely a very huge topic.
Complex.
As I said from the start of the program, I know it's a huge topic, and today we would have just touched the tip of the iceberg. But of course, Mrs. Benjamin is going to come back for a part 2, so you're going to stay tuned for that. All right. Well, our time, that's it. That's it for us today on the program. Let me say thank you so much, Mrs. Benjamin, for handling this topic with such precision. And please, as I indicated before, just know that I'll be calling you again.
Yes, no problem. Thanks for
part
having
2,
me.
as we continue to explore the dynamics of relationship, as we continue to talk about love, as we continue to give you keys and strategies to build strong and healthy relationships. Because as we said in the start, if you have strong people, you have strong families.
Yes.
If you have strong families, you have a strong society. So I want to thank you once again for coming in today. And viewers, this is how we wrap up the program for today. We spoke extensively about love and building healthy relationships. I want to remind you to check out our social media platforms. We are on YouTube, we are on TikTok, Instagram, and of course, Facebook. Be sure to like, share, and comment on all of our platforms. As usual, I leave you with the definition of transformation, which is an internal shift that brings us into alignment with our fullest potential. Hey, we've got this. See you next time.